welcoming you to this session of ET Environed live webinar, Achieving Process Automation, powered by L&T Infotech and IBM. With the COVID-19 crisis severely impacting businesses globally, bringing digitalization to the front and center of everything enterprises do has become more important. As organizations strive to deliver a superior customer experience with innovative solutions at optimal costs, implementing an enterprise-wide digitalization strategy has become more important. While digitizing paper-based processes remain the topmost priority of many industries, as they grapple with high turnaround time and escalating total cost of operations, identifying and harnessing value of information stored within physical documents and structuring content from disparate sources spread across the organizations is taking precedence. Complementing this with AI and RPA has significantly increased productivity and overall efficiency. To discuss some of these points, app points today, we are getting into an interesting panel discussions, and we are joined by Mr. Atul Govil, who is the Chief Transformation Officer and Head SAP and IT Corporate for India Glycols, Mr. Ramesh Revaru, who is Global Head of Digital Integration, L&T Infotech, Mr. Vipin Paliwal, Sales Leader for Digital Business Automation, India and South Asia, IBM, Mr. Farhan Khan, Senior Vice President IT, Radico Khaitan, Mr. Sandeep Japal, Vice President Information Technology, Jubilant Foodworks, and this session is being moderated by Mr. Vijay Bhaskaran, Automation and Artificial Intelligence Leader, EY India. Before I hand over the stage to Mr. Vijay Bhaskaran, there's just an important announcement for the panel members. I would request all the panel members to keep their mobile phones on silent. And when we are live, which are right now, and when anybody is speaking during the live discussion, I would request other panel members to keep themselves on mute and remember to unmute yourself when they have to speak, and also keep your videos on throughout the session. So without any further ado, I hand over to Mr. Vijay Bhaskaran. Sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Shashank, and welcome everyone for this interesting panel discussion. My name is Vijay Shankar. I lead our AI and automation for the India firm. And I have, like Shashank mentioned, been joined by very senior and experienced panelists as we debate and talk about how automation is relevant from a timing standpoint, as well as how do you scale it. So the topic for today, let me introduce, is achieving process automation, not in days or weeks, but in minutes. And what does that mean? And when I start to think about it in terms of how one can look at achieving automation in minutes, whether it is the adoption levels, do you want to adopt automation at speed, or do you want to develop automation in a much more faster manner, or is it about running processes or business processes where you can make them faster, in the digital age where customer preferences are changing, the expectation from businesses are a lot more faster. How do we ensure that the back offices and the front office teams are able to use automation to process this faster? So there are multiple facets to this topic, and we will go through different aspects of this in terms of from a product standpoint, from a business benefit standpoint, and how companies are looking to scale and achieve automation. With that, I would like to bring my fellow panelists as well. The first question, to just kind of set the stage on this, as companies come out of this pandemic, and automation is or digitization is almost is a must-have. We all believe that now, with post-pandemic, companies are all need to kind of drive digital on steroids. So with that, how do you see organizations adopting automation? And Atul, if I could just start with you, where do you see within your organization from a automation standpoint, and where do you see benefits that companies can derive from automation? Atul? Atul, maybe you're on mute. If you could unmute yourself, please.
Let me unmute. Am I audible now?
Yes, Atul, you are. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Vijay, for this nice and pertinent question, I would say. I think I'll share my view and also what I gathered from my interactions within the CXO community, that even before this COVID crisis, process automation, and particularly robotic process automation and bots in some cases, they have seen deployments to replace these repetitive and mundane human tasks. But then we also found there were pockets of resistance in terms of there were pushbacks by domain heads who felt less comfortable with these robotic or these virtual co-workers, so to say. But as we got into this pandemic situation, now we see a lot of positive affirmations and now to adopt these new age technologies, which will now essential to keep companies afloat and also make sure that the business transactions continue as such. So I think another realization which has come up is that it is individuals have realized that it's more rewarding to be a smart worker leveraging new age technology than rather be unemployed as a group, so to say. So that's one aspect which has grown in significance. Another aspect which we see now is the focus on reducing operational costs. So if you see in the current state, when we talk about this post-pandemic world, a large driver in the success of a business would be how quickly and how much you can reduce your operational cost. And in such a situation, I find technologies like RPA is quite cost effective for companies, and if done well, I can tell you the workflows and transactional costs can be saved by almost 20 to 25%. So that's the overall theme I just wanted to share. And one important point I also want to highlight here is that with RPA, what you also get is a far more accurate and a more efficient information gathering, and thereby you are able to improve on the labor productivity as well. So that's another aspect. I think broadly this is what I just wanted to bring forward.
Sure, thanks, Atul. That's very relevant and pertinent. From your perspective, how do you see automation within your organization?
Right. Thank you, Vijay. I think this is the question not in our mind. I think it's going to the managements and different executives. Those are coming up with the same point that how this automation is going to happen. I think we all know this 2020 took us on a roller coaster, which is a big ride for us so far. A lot of technology changes which happens in every sector, whether it is retail, automobile, manufacturing, especially in healthcare. I think there are a lot of AI uses has come up. This is a single year, which basically is a single year where everybody is now know how to work remotely. This is the first year, and I think in everybody's life that lockdown happened and everyone was working from home. And how this remote mode has emphasis in our life, and we are now aware of how this remote work is going to happen. Now, what these remote mode and working from home have come up with? There are advantages, of course. There are disadvantages also. So just because of this, there are technologies like automation has come up on. Earlier it was on my level 3 or level 5, where the adoption is going to be happen in next 6 months down the line or a year down the line, where I have to get into the POC mode, finalize, identify the processes where this RPA is going to be evolved and automation is going to be happen. Now it is basically quick to adopt. It is not the project for tomorrow, it is project for the yesterday. Things being identified, things being developed, which we were at the stage of POC and we were planning to deploy those things by the first quarter of 2021. Now it started getting, deployment has started getting into a third quarter of the year 2020. So there are a lot of compulsions, whether it is the environmental or business challenge or the requirement of a business, but somehow this is part of our technology stack as of now. So any layer, whether it is enterprise, you're running as a backbone application, whereas ERP is talking to a different layer of business application. This is also one of the application feed which is happening from the RPA and getting into a different set of applications. So this is what I believe has changed in 2020.
Sure, thanks, Ram. That's very, very, very pertinent. And I think what you said about the work from home changes, as well as how the organizations are pushing it across all levels, and there's a lot more acceptance to automation, I think is quite clear. Sandeep, if I could bring you into the conversation from functions which or areas where automation are being adopted, where do you see the maximum potential, and where do you, from your organization standpoint or the experience of some of the organizations that you have been interacting, where do you think is a good start point, and where do you think the maximum business value or companies can get to?
Sure, thanks, Vijay. So let me just quickly take 1 minute to focus on the adoption part, and then I'll answer the question specifically. So I'll take the same example. Work from home became a necessity because of COVID, but earlier many companies who never tried work from home now believe that it's BAU now, so it's not a big problem. Adoption is not a question because it was forced on us, and then we realized that it's possible. So similarly, other technologies like RPA or other automations, yes, adoption may take time, but we have realized now the technology can play a role, though it was forced upon us, but now it has changed the mindset. So adoption part, I would now believe, would be much easier compared to pre-COVID times. And specifically in the areas, not specific to my organization, but generally what I've seen, and everybody can relate to it, anything which is repeated, like reconciliation between 2, 3, 4 systems, that job people love doing sometimes because it's easy. You download Excel from 3, 4 systems, you reconcile, you bring out the gaps. A lot of companies, a lot of departments, finance and supply chain, they do it day in and day out, and they have their own small MIS teams to do this. So this is one good example. Anything which is repetitive doesn't require too much of AI, ML, human thinking. That can be done through RPA very quickly. And these are the things which are low-hanging fruits, reconciliation jobs. Then there are certain advanced jobs like, which again, COVID has forced upon us, which was the physical processing of invoices, which is again, you physically verified all the paperwork, invoices, receivings, that all can be automated now through electronic e-invoices. Anyway, that has been forced upon some companies beyond 500 crore turnover. So that's another area. You post an e-invoice to email address, everything being compliant, your invoice is processed. So no physical involvement again. Similarly, then there is a combination now in certain areas where human and bot can collaborate, because in a certain workflow there could be some areas where human has to necessarily intervene, and certain areas which are again mundane in nature, that a bot can pull data from a system, send request to a system, log in into a system. Even we have now, I think the OTPs also have been integrated into RP workflow, so even OTPs are no longer required to be entered by human being. So I think you start with the low-hanging fruits, which are routine jobs, and somebody said earlier in the discussion, it's very important to educate your team member that to remain relevant in these times, you need to do something which is unique to yourself and not can be replicated by others. So you remain relevant in all the times, so that people don't fear, because this has been history. Right from the industrial revolution to the computer age, people were always afraid of machines, and now people would be afraid of more and more automations, but we survived those times and we only grew better. So I think it's it's more about educating our teams, and we'll get through it.
Absolutely, Sandeep. I think it's all about evolution, right? The understanding itself is kind of evolving as well. With that, I would like to also bring in Ramesh into the conversation. So Ramesh, I mean, you've been working back with a number of companies across the world, and you've really seen companies kind of adopting automation at different scale. What's your perspective around how companies are going through this journey, and what kind of areas that they are looking to focus and bring in the benefits?
Sure. Thank you, Vijay. While I answer the question that you posed to me, let me also talk about one of the topic that got discussed a little while ago, and a question that is also linked to what you just now asked me in terms of adoption of these technologies and the speed of delivery versus speed of adoption, and what we are seeing in the install base that we service as L&T Infotech. And in my opinion, speed of delivery compared to speed of adoption, I believe speed of adoption is more of a cultural shift aspect involved in it, and hence little more prone to take longer, because you expect your employees also to go through that cultural shift, and hence more time consuming compared to a speed of delivery. And I can probably narrate it through an example of what we have experienced as part of the implementation that we've done. And why go far? Look at one of the large public sector companies in India, and they had reached out to us with the problem statement of having accumulated over a few decades close to about 100 million physical documents that they were grappling with. And we're looking at creating a digital workplace that brings in process automation and your content getting stored that is more easy to retrieve. While we did go through the implementation itself, and from a speed of delivery standpoint, you could look at doing digitization of those documents and digitalization of the process flows probably faster from a speed of delivery standpoint. But then when for the go live, if you have the senior management members walk in with folders in their hands, notepads, you've truly not seen the digital workplace at play. And hence, in my opinion, speed of adoption is more of a cultural shift, and hence takes a little longer in our experience. But to your question of what are we seeing with respect to the technology itself, how our customers adopting, in my opinion, while technology and panelists have spoken about automation, if you were to look at process flows do not exist in isolation while we talk about automation processes, because if you take any process flow requires a document to then act on, and then you require a document management or a content management system. But for these documents to be in digital form, you need a OCR scanning component. Once you build that, you obviously require to bring in AI ML so that you can tag the documents, classify those documents, and store them for easy retrieval. You will only be able to take benefit of the process flows if you have APIs that you can interact with and bring information from other applications into the process flow. So you need APIs and microservices. And thereby, obviously, you need RPA in this entire scheme of things to look at what are those manual tasks that can be automated. So it's a variety of 7 different technologies, including cloud adoption, that, in my opinion, is driving what otherwise used to be the workflow-based solutions of the past. And that is a shift that we're seeing. Product vendors like IBM do a phenomenal job in pulling all those and bundling it into one offering called Cloud Pak for automation. And that probably is the shift where the lines are blurring, multiple different technologies that are getting bundled together into what otherwise needs to be serviced as processes.
No, sure, Ramesh. I think you brought out a good point. When I think when people talk about automation, generally it gets associated to robotics process automation and something that you can automate processes which are rule and mundane activity. But the ambitions of organization automation are much more wider. There are a lot more manual processes across different departments, and technically you cannot solve through just one piece of technology. But how do you kind of bring different capabilities together and drive that ambition in organizations to drive better automation? I think it's a very, very, very important point. Now, if I could also bring in Vipin into the conversation. Vipin, from an IBM perspective, how do you see this? Because a lot of companies are starting with a journey of automation at a more RPA standpoint, as you saw from some of our panel members talking about. And Ramesh brought in a point around to say, take a look at it holistically, bring in different technologies together and try and solve this problem more holistically. But how do you see it, and what's been your experience in working back with other clients?
So first of all, thanks for inviting me on this, and thanks for Ramesh for saying this, because you took half of my thunder, that what I was about to say. So thanks for saying that. And now, when we at IBM look at automation, and I want to pick each one point, like Sandeep, Farhan, and Arvind said that, I want to pick up each of their point. See, first of all, my point of view is that we look at it, when we say automation, we look at it the complete picture. Someone said RPA. So when I talk to a client, I ask him, when you say automation, he may say an RPA. I'd say one or two steps of that may be fulfilled by RPA. What I said, what do you do next? Then he would be doing a manual task, which can be done by a knowledge worker, not by a robot, right? So then I give him a complete view of what we have in our offering, where you can automate from the process discovery, where you identify a process, to complete integration with any system in the world, right? So we have a complete package where you have your process modeling tools, your process discovery tools, and then you bring it into a BPM, then you bring a content management, then you have a data capture as well. And then we also bring in the other capabilities of the RPA as well, the dashboard reporting capability, the business rules part of it, that's the straight through processing. When we bring all of this together in one single product bundle, that helps the client. The most important thing what we're trying to achieve here is, as a leader, if I'm able to solve everybody's life, that the day-to-day working, that's the most important part of the solution, rather than just touching a bit of it. So we try and, we have something as an offering we give to our client. Now I'm coming to each speaker who said that. So what I'm trying to say is that if you say, someone talked about invoice processing and other, we make that process, maybe account payable, procure to pay, whichever you call it, straight like that, and seamless through that, starting from an invoice generated, maybe a manual, that is physical paper or a digital copy, we automatically extract it. They learn the template of the supplier. They extract the data, do a two-way matching with the SAP or the ERP system, whichever they have. Then process it. If it's an exception, then raise it in the queue, integrating with the core system, and clear it off. Point number one. And upstream of it, even when you're generating GRN using barcodes and other tools and technology, you need not to bring a physical paper there. The barcode will have all the information. The guy who delivers the good just shows the barcode to the gate guy. He will read the barcode, and in his GRN, everything gets entered. We have something called a supplier portal where we have it. So that is on the invoice processing part of it. But apart from that, we have tools and technologies where we automate the complete intent raise, supply chain management, automation of the supply chain management at the shop itself. When I say shop, it could be office, which is on offsite, which is in the inventory, when the delivery is happening, all of it we automate it together using the IBM's tools and technology. Most important thing, the edge we take over the market here is, we use the Watson NLP, natural language processing. That is the MI AI capability. ML AI capability. That is the machine learning and the artificial intelligence. So any part of our solution, you will find that we are using those kind of capability to automate the complete streamline of the process. It could be any part of it. So I agree with, we should not look at process just as an RPA, because I'm sure If you study that process, out of the number of steps, 2, 3, maximum 4, the robot will be able to do because it's a repetitive job. Next is a knowledge worker, and we should try and automate this part of life cycle as well.
Sure, Vipin. I think that's again a good point. You're saying take a look at the process end to end and see what elements of the process can be fully digitized and automate, and then bring in the right sets of technologies that can help you drive that, right?
Correct.
Now, if I now just go back to Farhan, from your perspective, when you look at from different technology stacks that are coming together, and Vipin talked about some of these things that from an IBM standpoint, and Ramesh talked about what he's seeing in the market as well. From a customer view, how do you see? Because again, I want to relate this back to the adoption point, because a lot of technologies are always available. I mean, there are technologies that you would get, and it will evolve. But how do you get the speed of adoption within an organization, and how do you make organizations accept some of these end-to-end process digital transformations?
Right. I think, Vijay, there are some fundamental rules when we talk about adoptions. You remember in 1990s when ERP came in India, and it was largely a failed implementation during the time of 90s, whether it is Videocon or Reliance. And then it comes to time when I think when you talk about 2010 or 2020, none of the SAP or none of the ERP fails during the implementation time. But nevertheless, when we talk about any adoption of technology, there is a one single point that we also discuss as one of the factors is involvement of the management, the acceptance from the management or push from the management. So involvement of the management is basically to give a message that adoption has to be happen because this has come from the management. That was the reason. So the people down the line can see if MD is also using it, or CEO is also using it, or if CFO also is a part of the project, they are driving it. And that is the reason the adoption is happening all across. And it basically helps not even to synchronize at the level where people is going to use technology, even also it helps to give a message at the broad level. This is what the technology is going to be used, and this is how these people and other stakeholders are going to be a part of this technology. Now, I feel that there is a fear factor from my perspective. If you talk about adoption of technology, if management is there, it is involved. The end user acceptance is going to be very high. If you want to derive the deployment, of course, it will take a longer time. So, adoption is directly linked or proportionate with the management who is going to involve the end-to-end projects, whether it is ERP or any kind of. But digitalization is something, I believe that this is where, the analogy has changed. It's something where business head wants to drive it. For example, my production head need to understand, I'm not able to production because this is needed because he needs some more information to take some certain decisions. Similarly, my marketing team also come and said, Farhan, I need these kind of RPA where I can get these things to be automated. So at least I can get my more information. So at least I can think about the brand that I'm going to launch for it. So the era where we said, okay, starting from the involvement of management, coming to the pushing to the user to adopt. Now this is the time when the people themselves realizing the effectiveness and the productivity of technology which already exists. Now, if I think so in 20s, now if I go and talk to my management, say cloud, they understand what cloud is all about. They understand how cloud works. But if I think about 2005 or 2006, I think that was the time when I don't think that anybody can understand what the cloud is. No, I don't want to, get my data on cloud. It is not secure. So please don't teach me. Give me something more. what I mean to say, why I'm giving this example is that people are now reached to that level. They know what the technologies are. Whether we talk about RPA or AI or ML, they know about it. Maybe some of them they use it, or maybe some of them experience it. But thanks to Steve Jobs, who has come with the iPhone, and that changed the whole business, the technology game, who basically tell us there is something called Apple ID, which is being stored in somewhere in cloud, where you can have a backup, and when you make change from iPhone 1 to 2, you can switch over your data. So I think it helps in not even me, I think that the other CIs also. Similarly, because mostly it is business is basically house-driven businesses, right? It is Ketan who is running my company. So father and son transitions happens. The son studies abroad, or maybe he has graduated some good college, so he understands what the technologies are and how it works and how the adoption is going to happen. So there's another morale, or you can say there is an understanding of technologies is there. So at least you can go and talk to a language which you are happy to talk, and these guys are also happy to understand. So such things are very important, with the factor that you need to deploy any technology. Now, many times I remember MD called me. He said, "I don't know. I have a sales force of 700 odd people. They are going to a ground and going to reaching to the retailers and distributors. I don't know whether they are going and meeting with them or not. I need data." So I said, it is only possible when we deploy some mobile application. While they are going to any retailer office, they can punch whatever the business information which they are gathering from the retailer or distributor, and then this information will come to me. I will collect all the information, centralize it, and give it to you. He said, "Okay, go ahead and give me this." So what I mean to say is this adoption has already been there. When he says, "I need this," the only thing is I'm giving an idea. This is how we are going to go, and this is the execution is going to be happening. I'll say, "Okay, you drive it, I'm there." So I mean to say the technology is now more understandable. It's people can understand if you go and tell them this is how it is going to solve your problem. Or people are coming, "Boss, this is my problem, you please solve it."
Sure, Farhan. That's great examples. I mean, the point that you brought about is saying the business is hungry for technology, then it's no more a push from the IT or the CIO's organization, and business is asking the questions to say, how can we make it more better around it? So, Atul, if I could bring you in the conversation, when you look at it from just the evolution of different technologies that have come in, right? Fran just talked about, you're just using mobile related and solving some of the sales related challenges that are there. Vipin talked about how can you bring in different sets of AI, ML together to drive the end-to-end, invoice processing, etc. From your perspective, how do you think, how do you think the technology is evolved and how companies can adopt? And if you could even provide your point of view in terms of ideas of how companies should think about in adopting these new technologies, that will be great.
Sure. So I think the first and foremost, the important factor that we all need to consider is that in today's time, there are at least 3 generations of individuals who are there in the workplace. Okay. So you may have the digital natives, you may have the generation X, Y, Z, so to say. And we have to factor that the new age employee who is a digital native, born digital, so to say. If you were to ask them to do something which is repetitive, like taking notes from one system and updating it in another, they may work for a week, 10 days or a month, but then they may choose to leave. They may do something else rather than doing these mundane tasks. So we'll have to factor that if we are trying to build an organization which will cater to all the 3 sets of generations which are there, and we'll have more of these digital natives as each progressive year, we have to build the technology or the organization of the future. For that, leveraging these new age technologies is not just an option, it will be a survival thing. So you'll have to do that. I'll give you an example, particularly in manufacturing. What we are trying to do right now is, we have done this IoT project which gathers data from disparate sources. And then you have other systems in which you do the plant maintenance aspects or wherein you update production data. So now what we are trying to do is getting data out of this IoT system, and through a batch process or without the need of an API, how do we create notifications or alerts in the production module or the maintenance module, so that you are able to continually evaluate the production data, yield data, throughput data, quality data from the LIMS, which is the laboratory system setup, and also look at the notification related to maintenance. So that is one. Second is, we have to also factor that there are these isolated and these silos of systems which have been built on legacy operating systems and legacy applications, and you can't build APIs to get data out of them. So these process automation tools will also help get data out of these disparate, disconnected systems, and then you can create a central warehouse wherein it's like democratizing the knowledge without the need of these expensive APIs, which also can have recurring licensing issues from the application provider. So I find that and this COVID situation has actually amplified the plans to invest in this strategy. Like Farhan also mentioned, now the stage is such that we are getting regular updates that can we do this, can we do that. While pre-COVID era, it was we who were just chasing them that why can't we do this, why can't we do that. But now the flow has reversed, and now we are being asked that why can't we do this, how can we do this and that. So which is a healthy place to be. And as I think one thing which I want to highlight here is for as a customer, we need to keep it simple, because the moment we talk about artificial intelligence or machine learning and stuff like that with the domain team, artificial intelligence I'm not saying I'm a great proponent of technology, but at the same time we have to also align our terminology, our discussion in a way so that the audience is interested and doesn't find it too much like it's like future. It should not sound futuristic, so to say. So we should start building with some quick wins. Do something with inexpensive tools. And why I say inexpensive, because it is far too inexpensive as compared to setting up an ERP or a CRM solution of so to say, something which is easy to implement. And then you should be able to fine tune as per the requirements without the need of having a battery of developers or consultants at the user organization level to drive adoption and usage. I think that's what I want to think. Keep it simple. Create some success stories early on, create more interest, try to spread it across multiple departments so that then there is enough enthu to do more. That's my limited point.
No, very good perspective, Atul. Keep it simple, let the businesses understand. And, like some of the earlier technology we talked about, cloud, in the earlier times, people were didn't understand about it, right? So they were a lot more averse to it. Now, when you bring in newer technology, when you start to make it more hyped, then it is difficult for business teams to understand. Very valid point. So Sandeep, if I could just bring you in the conversation, in terms of the scale of what's possible, right? And maybe this is something that I would also get Ramesh also together on this. If an organization wants to set itself an ambition to say, 60% of my or 90% of my business processes should be digitized, right? And it is need for the hour, right? I mean, it is something that a lot of organizations might need to do because that's how post-pandemic, work from home, touchless business processes are being pushed for, etc. What do you think are the challenges? And then I will also get Ramesh into the conversation and say, how do you think that companies should look at in terms of managing those challenges if ambitions can be set? if Sandeep, if you could talk about first in terms of saying, can that be an ambition and what kind of challenges? And then I would like Ramesh to respond on to say, how he's seeing in terms of clients adopting those.
Okay. So, like I said, few processes are very easy to identify, but a few may be very difficult, or someone on the panel talked about the process discovery. I think that's a good beginning, because sometimes we don't know what all processes can be digitized. So there are tools available for process discovery. You can put it on the systems of individual users, and in a couple of days what all processes can be digitized, and then you can decide. I mean, today we have those tools. Maybe, I don't know, 10-15 years ago I have not heard of them, but today I see a lot of tools which help to discover the processes, and it also not only discovers, but it also tells you how much of it can be automated, and it also creates a workflow sort of thing, and it does a lot of the job that you would actually have done by creating a workflow. So today we have all those tools, so we should use that as a beginning to identify the processes that can be automated. And on the basis of that, you can easily create your journey that in phase one, these processes are going to deliver the maximum value, and these are most easier to implement and are faster to implement. So let me choose them in phase one. And like Atul said, we should make a noise about it in the organization. People should know, in 3 weeks we implemented a process which is saving 300 hours per day. Now this kind of headlines generate a lot of interest. People open these emails, people go through it, and then people want to be part of the story, so they will approach you. That and it happens whenever you are successful in driving something which attracts headline, or maybe it's in the review of CEO. So then people come to you and say, can you automate this for me? Can you automate this for me? And then you have this backlog, which is a good backlog to have. So I would say, use the tools at the disposal, discover what all can be automated, create your phased journey, make a noise about it, and, market yourself. COVID has helped to market ourselves, market technology guys. So we have a lot of projects today to deliver, but in any journey in RP also, you need to keep it continuous, because after some time there is the curve gets flat, so you need to keep it interesting throughout the journey. So that's my take on that.
Sure. Ramesh, what's your view in terms of challenges and how companies should go about in their journey of, if I would say, automation nirvana?
Yeah. So challenges. Sorry, that was for me.
I'll just bring Ramesh into the conversation.
Sure.
So, between Ramesh and you.
Yep. Thank you, Vijay. Thanks, Sandeep. To answer that question, I probably have to draw in a perspective that I've developed over the course of time. And that perspective is in support. We used to tell our engineers how to detect a problem before customer reports it. Because customer is king, we don't want customer to be dissatisfied. Gone are those days. Today, even before the support engineer detects it, you have the whole world knowing it thanks to social media and access of customers to social media. And hence, our processes and support engineers need to be intelligent enough, smart enough to be able to pick up things before they hit the whole world. And in that perspective, according to me, customers have to start looking at, and somebody rightly mentioned about the difficulty in maintaining legacy systems, the inability to API those systems, and hence the lack of the ability of those systems to connect to other applications. That said, if you're carrying too many legacy of such systems that can't talk to other systems, you're carrying a risk. And at the same time, your ability to reach your market faster also depends on which end of the spectrum's problem are you trying to solve. And one end of the spectrum is where we're talking about how do you better the experience for customers,
At the other end of the spectrum, you're looking at how do I improve my resources, how do I improve productivity, and hence thereby bringing in savings. Irrespective of which end of the spectrum that you look at, you need tools that can help you achieve those objectives faster. And that is where, whether it is what IBM brings to the table, and we've joined hands with IBM in terms of their offering Cloud Pak for Automation. But while IBM does a phenomenal job of bringing those products together, your ability as a company to achieve some of these advantages would be much better if your citizen developers or business users are able to build something on their own and not end up learning these 7 different technologies to build those process flows, which is where we've put together this intelligent digitalization solution, which is meant for citizen developers. You don't have to learn the underlying technologies that are involved, and at the same time, without having to write code, generate those process flows that you can deploy faster. So in short, for me, how do you enable companies to achieve their business objects, either end of the spectrum, do that faster, and hence thereby derive the benefits, Vijay. Vijay, you might be on mute.
I think I'm unable to hear Vijay.
Same here. Vijay, can't hear you.
Vijay, can't hear you. You are not audible.
Seems he has put the speaker also on mute. Vijay, are you there?
So while we get Vijay back, Vipin, do you want to take a stab at what we were discussing and provide your perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, guys, thanks for giving that input. I just want to start up with 2 points here. I want to input a point that, where IBM is investing. So that, very interesting point have come up from Sandeep, Atul, and I want to make a comment out of it and really appreciate the point that Farman has said. So first there is IBM is investing on two standpoints. First is Kubernetes containers, where the growth happens, where you can scale up your application that you're building and you can take it to the next level. And manage maintenance and deployment is easier. Second thing is that, so all our application going forward would be coming on Kubernetes containers. So that's one. Second thing is we're investing is on continuous delivery. What it means is any application that you are using of IBM, then you would have a patch upgrade. So someone talked about that, manage maintenance, how much time, go to market, quick delivery, fail fast, success fast. So what we're doing, we're coming up with all our application is on continuous delivery. You can deploy your application in weeks. Okay. And when it is deployed and you have to upgrade to a new version, it's not a project by itself. Again, it can be migrated to a new version in weeks. Okay. So earlier it was in months and things like that. So we've come on a continuous delivery, like you get a patch on a mobile or a laptop and you just run that patch and your complete system is upgraded to the latest version of the OS. Similarly, we are investing in that. Second point of where someone, Mr. Atul talked about application which are legacy and things like that. I just want to put up a point from where we're investing in terms of today, if you have a legacy application and you don't know the microservices how to build, we have tools and technology using our AI/ML capability. We can convert your legacy application into container-ready deployed application in minutes. I will take your application in a VMware and complete via package. firmware package, and I will put it into my tool. Within 5 minutes, I'll convert it into a container, a cloud container ready application. What it means to you, it means to you the time you would have taken for CI/CD investment, time, effort, money, converting into microservices. Okay, now you're ready to deploy them. So these are tools and technology we are investing that we're making sure the time to market for our customers, the time to market for your fail fast, delivery fast becomes smaller. And you can use these applications. Now coming to an RPA standpoint, we work with a client and saying that we build these applications for a repetitive task or a BPM within weeks with these assets that we have. Okay, we have built great amount of assets with LTI on this, and I'm sure in India I have good amount of customer base with them. Having said that, globally we have huge, I will say huge, and good practices, resource practice, pool of practice, which we call a COE, Center of Excellence, that we have built with them. We work very closely with them. Now the last point I want to come in here is if yes, there is an initiative by the management, which Mr. Farhan said, that initiative by the management of adoption of a technology, and there is something that you guys, each of you are looking at that you want to deploy. We can show you an outcome of one, which we call today in the market as POC, proof of concept, in weeks. And when you are thinking that meets my criteria of the success criteria of the POC, we can equally deploy them in weeks. So like I said, our application are like a patch level deployment. The application comes ready. These are, and then you deploy the process and automation part of it again, like second. Third is these are cloud, hybrid, and on-premise. All applications are available in all the three modules, whichever you say. So ready for deployment in that perspective. And then, when you are running these applications, migration of them. So major of the banking system, insurance system today using my process automation part of it. And these are core: account opening, loan. We're talking about new business policy, claims. These are core applications of these, heart of these, industries. And we make sure that they are up and running for decades, 10, 20 years, and they keep migrating and things over the globe. So that's what we end up doing here is. So in summary, nutshell, that we understand the pulse of the market and the customer, and we're evolving. We may be somewhere there, maybe somewhere back, but we're evolving, and we're evolving in such a manner that we bring the best of technology, best of time to market, and the best of the requirement of the client together, all together of this. Vijay, over to you. I think so. He's got.
I think he's got a system issue. So it's.
Shashank, if Vijay.
No, it's Murphy laws at work, no? So something can fail.
Yeah.
So I think, I just wanted to clarify one thing, Vipin.
Yeah.
I just was curious that companies like, I would like to name this company or this brand, Blue Prism. So it has been in existence for maybe 10 to 12 years, but it's only in the last couple of years, 2-3 years, while we see adoption of these RPA tools. So what has changed? Because RPA as a technology doesn't need high-end processing or compute capability, so to say. So what to your knowledge has changed in these 2-3 years, which has led to this widespread usage of these process automation tools? So, just wanted to hear from you.
Yeah. So sir, I will answer your question in two different ways. First is, someone answered on the panel about evaluation of ERP from 1990 to 2000, and today without fail that every project is being successfully driven. I'm not sure it was you or Mr. Farhan, someone said that, right?
Yeah.
So the answer is exactly the same. The technology comes in. Kubernetes technology is not today's. It is again a decade or at least 7-8 years. From 5-6 years I've been selling. If you today bring an application, I'm just giving an example. Today, if you take a legacy application, you say you don't have microservices in that, or you're not cloud ready container. There's a legacy application. Earlier, someone will read the architecture, look at the code and build microservices, convert it into container, then deploy it. Today, that I can show you that any application you have it on OS, for example, on RHEL or the Linux one of it, you convert that VM image as an image. I can give you convert it into a cloud container ready application in 5 minutes. Okay. And deploy it in. So things are evolving. Now I'm answering the question, why RPA adoption? It was technologies being there. It is just a matter of people understanding, accepting it, and people today finding it because human resource. It's not about human resource, the place, the complete C2C we call it in a management term. That is his salary, his place, the complete C2C has been growing phenomenally high. It's outside, then people have started thinking that whether I should, why should I not look at technology, right? So I will, a different perspective to this. US companies have been outshoring their work to India much before, from 2000 and before than that. But now India has also started looking at it that we outsource some part of the work to internal India company or someone else, right? Why? Because our costs have also phenomenally started increasing, and we think that rather than we keeping on ourselves, we outsource it to someone and they do the job. So once people have understood that the resource cost or the cost of that work has been phenomenally increased, and I start adopting a technology.
Sure. I think, is Vijay back or? Vijay, are you there?
So, Mr. Govind,
Shashank?
the panelist. Yeah. So, Mr. Vijay,
Shashank,
there is some issue with his laptop. Actually, he is there available. He's not able to speak or listen anything, but he is there available on the panelist. I think we can move on. I think we have a couple of questions from the audience side, which I have received during the time of the panel discussion. I'll just ask those questions and then we'll close the panel discussion. The first question that we have with us is, how will this automation will affect the workplace or the common area or the common working area that we have, let it be a plant for a manufacturing company or a corporate office in the future? How is it going to impact the jobs of those people, if I put it in that way? The workforce.
Can I take that? Yeah, I think, hi, Atul this side. So I think in any other stage of tech evolution, we would have seen, you would find that technologies including technologies like RPA, some domain users would find that these technologies are in extreme violation in their traditional sphere of influence, whatever was the sphere of influence they had. But then what we need to understand is that there are these two extremes we have. At one end, we have the delight of elimination of mundane tasks. And the other end, we have the fear of job losses because of the current initiative, and more as the RPA and process automation adoption increases. And this may be true. Okay, this may be true considering that in some organizations, the focus would be and is to eliminate FTEs, the full-time employees position using process automation. So, but at the same time, it's as we speak, it is about redeploying. Like earlier, people were using those typewriters, but when typewriters got converted into computers, or so to say, and you had these printers and stuff, people said that, no, what about those jobs? But I don't think we have lost jobs because of that. It's people who have failed to reskill themselves, reorient themselves. Yes, they may be at risk, but others would find a gainful employment, of course. That's my view. I would request other panelists to give their views as well.
So,
yeah, just adding what Atul said, that there is some data which I was just running through last week.
Farhan, आपका आवाज क्रैक कर रहा है बीच में. There is a bandwidth issue, it seems.
Just to running, let's say with robotics, most of the people need a lot of
Mr. Farhan, your voice is breaking up.
So, what Atul is saying, just to robot if you're running 10 robotics,
I think we have lost.
Yeah, we are unable to hear you clearly because of the bandwidth issues. There's a lot of lag actually. Maybe you'll have to change the network or something, and in the interim, maybe somebody else can respond.
Yeah, Mr. Ramesh, if you would like to share your thoughts on the point on this particular question.
Yes. So, in my opinion, the change in each of the industry segments is going to be phenomenal, and the change that I'm referring to is change that will aid our digital workers in doing their jobs better, and no industry segment, in my opinion, is going to be left untouched. And hence, it is better for each one of us to prepare to adopt those technologies rather than being skeptical about their adoption.
Okay, sir, Mr. Vipin sir, your thought on the question?
So my thought is, change is part of life. I believe this fully, and we should all look at how you are adopting that change in terms of, every time you stand up and every morning you stand up and you will see something new that has come up in your life. You adopt it, you don't adopt is a different thing. I think so. Today, every organization that is running in this globe has accepted that yes, things are changing and they have to adopt towards it. That's why we are seeing in our past, in a decade time, there are companies who were doing phenomenally well. They're making money, and after a decade, there are no more left if they are not adopted towards change and technology. So things are, there is part of a change. For example, IBM, I think so. Someone shared me some time back in 1990 or 2000 was leader in terms of employee, best, one of the best employer and things like that. Today, or in revenue part of it. Today, it is not. There are some other companies that have taken over it. But the point I'm trying to make here is, it's not a factor that jobs will go off, but it's a factor of how healthy the business can be using technology, and technology will evolve and come back more rapidly. By the time you try and accept it and try and deploy it, you'll find something new has come up today. Today we talked about RPA. Today there are solutions that it can deploy and tell you where you should, which is called a process modeling of an RPA, where process discovery of an RPA, where RPA can be deployed. So it is not just today you think, okay, there are some part of the process I can deploy on RPA, and this I should not deploy. IBM today has technologies that that help you deploy. This is called a process discovery for an RPA, where all you should deploy an RPA. And this is a tool, mind you. This is not a process discovery workshop where you're sitting with people. It's a tool.
Okay, perfect. So I think Mr. Farhan has joined us back. So sir, if you can just finish your point very quickly. So we have already overshoot the time.
Yeah, I was just adding. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
So I was just adding what Atul has said, that it's just a shift of a job from here to there. Nothing has changed so far. When computer came in 90s, again there was the issues. I was just giving some numbers just to add what Atul has said, that RP is running with the accuracy of 70 to 80%. It's not working with the accuracy of 100%. So that means we need intelligent people who can work 20% or 30% more once the data has come from the RPA. Similarly, if you run a robotic also requires certain amount of people who is going to run this robotic engine. So I was just reading one article last week. What it says that if you're running a 10 robotics within the plant or designated area, it requires 80 more people basically who runs the whole show. So it's like a shifting from one location to another. The demand will remain same. That's what I was to say.
And so I'll just move on to Mr. Sandeep. Mr. Sandeep, can you share your viewpoints on the question that was asked from the audience about the workplace, the technology, and what is going to be the future for that? So you are on.
Sorry, can you just say that again, please?
Okay, so the question that was asked from the audience was how automation can affect the jobs in the future at the workplace, at the normal workplace.
So, like I said in my previous comments, that people will always be apprehensive whenever a new technology comes, and this has been the case ever since the industrial revolution started, machines started. This is an evolution process. We become more able and we pass on the mundane jobs to machine. So they perform better and human race evolved. So nobody has become irrelevant since the time we have the information. People have only evolved. So giving your jobs to computers will only evolve you. So it will free your bandwidth to do more value addition. So yes, in initial period, it may seem like this transition is painful. It will happen because ultimately the automation, does effectively looks like that cuts the headcounts, and that's why it is meant to do so. But I mean, it also gives an opportunity at the same time to try something more meaningful. And like Farhan said, in no area we will ever achieve 100% automation. Human beings and machines will have to coexist. We will only evolve. As the machine evolves, humans also evolve along with that. So my take is that it's only going to help us do better jobs.
Okay, all right, sir. So I think we have already overshooted the time for this particular webinar. So with this, I would like to thank all of you. I would like to thank Mr. Atul Gogal, Mr. Ramesh Revaru, Mr. Vipin Paliwal, Mr. Farhan Khan, Mr. Sandeep Jabal, and Mr. Vijay Bhaskaran for taking valuable time out of your schedule and giving it to this particular wonderful discussion that we did today. Apart from that, if you want to help us with your feedback on the webinar, or if you have any questions, you can please feel free to write me. And thank you again for joining the session. ET&Y, powered by L&T Infotech and IBM.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.